You've heard the story of Noah's Ark, right? I mean, of course you have. It's one of the most famous tales in history. But have you ever really stopped to think about the logistics of it all? If you approach it not just as a story of faith, but as a massive engineering project, it becomes one of the greatest puzzles you can imagine. So what we're going to do here is explore a blueprint for how, according to the source material, this incredible feat might have actually been possible.
We're going to break it down and tackle 5 of the biggest logistical hurdles. First, just the impossible scale of the thing. Then, the problem of feeding all those carnivores. After that, the miraculous migration of the animals. Then there's the ultimate space puzzle. And finally, a solution that kind of redefines the whole idea of what a species even is.
Okay, first up, you just have to imagine the sheer scale of this project. Building the Ark would have been a colossal undertaking, right? A spectacle that would have drawn people from miles around. But according to the source, they weren't coming to admire the work. Nope, they were coming to mock what they saw as Noah's folly.
But as massive as the construction was, the truly mind-bending challenges were all on the inside. I mean, how do you manage a floating zoo with all its needs for the better part of a year? That's where the real puzzles begin. And we're going to start with the most basic one of all, food.
All right, puzzle number 1, and it's a big one, the food supply. Storing enough grain for Noah's family and all the plant eaters is a huge challenge by itself. But what about the carnivores? How on earth do you keep the lions, tigers, and wolves fed for a whole year without them turning on all the other animals?
Well, the source material points to this really fascinating clue, and it's hidden right there in the instructions given to Noah. The text makes a really clear distinction, telling him to bring 2 different quantities for 2 different types of animals, the clean and the unclean. And the numbers here, they're everything.
Okay, so think about it. 2 of each unclean animal, that's a perfect mating pair. Simple enough, right? They're there to repopulate after the flood. But why 7 of each clean animal? That odd number is weird until you think about it. The source suggests it's no accident. Those extra clean animals could have served a critical secondary purpose, a divinely provided, sustainable food source for all the carnivores on board.
All right, so if we have a working theory for the food, what about the next massive problem? The Great Roundup. How did Noah and his pretty small family manage to gather animals from every single corner of the globe? I mean, we're talking about penguins from Antarctica, kangaroos from Australia, all without planes, trains, or automobiles.
And the answer, according to the source, is as simple as it is wild. They didn't have to. The account suggests the animals weren't hunted down or herded at all. Instead, they just came. They came on their own, driven by some kind of common, divine instinct. A peaceful, miraculous migration from every corner of the earth.
Yeah, the scripture itself says the animals went in unto Noah. See the phrasing there? It doesn't say they were brought in. It's framed as a voluntary arrival. In this version of the story, predators and prey are walking side by side, answering the exact same call.
So you have this incredible migration, all these animals arriving, and it all leads up to this super intense 7-day boarding process. You have to picture the animals just assembling peacefully on the ramp while Noah and his sons worked like crazy to guide each one into its pen, finishing their monumental task literally just as the floodwaters began to rise. Talk about a deadline.
And that brings us to what is probably the biggest question of all, the one that, let's be honest, trips a lot of people up. Space. How could you possibly fit pairs of every single animal species on Earth onto a single boat, no matter how big it was?
So, the key to unlocking this puzzle, according to the source, is all about one very important idea: the difference between species as we think of them today and ancestral kinds. Think of it like this. You don't need a poodle, a beagle, and a Great Dane on the Ark if you just have their common canine ancestor. The idea is that the Ark didn't need every modern variety, just the ancestral kinds that held the genetic blueprint for everything to come. So for instance, instead of all the different dog breeds plus wolves and coyotes, you just need one ancestral canine pair. Instead of lions, tigers, leopards, and pumas, a single ancestral feline pair. The same idea applies to all horses. The source even points to how thousands of pigeon varieties all came from just a few originals. This one shift in thinking just dramatically cuts down the number of animals you'd need.
So you can see how switching from species to kinds is a total game changer. It shrinks the passenger list down a lot. But the fundamental question is still there. Was the Ark actually big enough? Let's run the numbers.
Okay, let's talk floor space. Across its 3 decks,
The Ark had over 100,000 square feet of it. To put that in perspective, that's more than 2 acres of real estate, all contained on a single vessel.
But see, floor space is just one dimension. We have to think vertically. The total internal volume was about 1.5 million cubic feet. That means you're not just limited to the floor, you can stack cages, create multi-level habitats. And this becomes absolutely crucial when you find out just how big most of these animals were.
And this is where it all really comes together. The source provides a breakdown of land animals by size, and the results are kinda shocking. The number of really large animals, the ones bigger than a sheep, is less than 300 kinds. The vast majority are much smaller, with the average size estimated to be about that of a house cat. All of a sudden, that impossible space problem starts to look entirely manageable.
So, let's pull it all together. When you look at all these pieces of the puzzle, how does this blueprint actually stack up?
Well, according to the source, once you redefine the passengers from countless species down to a manageable number of ancestral kinds, and then you factor in the Ark's absolutely massive volume against the surprisingly small average size of the animals, the conclusion is that this incredible undertaking wasn't just a matter of faith, but a plausible logistical feat.
And that leaves us with a really interesting question to chew on. If you can draw up a plausible blueprint for what has always been seen as a miracle, does that diminish the miracle itself, or does it just give us a glimpse into the genius of the divine architect?